Welcome to the Royal Designs track guide for the 2020 Formula SimRacing World Championship. The first round of 10 comes from the hot and humid country of Malaysia at the Sepang International Circuit. This twisty, undulating 15-turn circuit is tricky and punishing to mistakes. A history across sim racing and motorsport in general shows this track as one of the most known in the world, even if it isn't the most popular. The wide circuit and bumpy surface should open the decade with a few mistakes and a thrilling race. The drivers will have to traverse this 5.543km circuit 56 times across the running of the opening round of the 2020 season, and of course it's a circuit known to many for its abrasive track surface, one that will be really pushing those tyres to the very limit. Plenty of overtaking opportunities around the circuit should you be... Welcome to the Royal Designs track guide for the 2020 Formula SimRacing World Championship. The first round of 10 comes from the hot and humid country of Malaysia at the Sepang International Circuit. This twisty, undulating 15-turn circuit is tricky and punishing to mistakes. A history across sim racing and motorsport in general shows this track as one of the most known in the world, even if it isn't the most popular. The wide circuit and bumpy surface should open the decade with a few mistakes and a thrilling race. The drivers will have to traverse this 5.543km circuit 56 times across the running of the opening round of the 2020 season, and of course it's a circuit known to many for its abrasive track surface, one that will be really pushing those tyres to the very limit. Plenty of overtaking opportunities around the circuit should you be... Welcome to the Royal Designs track guide for the 2020 Formula SimRacing World Championship. The first round of 10 comes from the hot and humid country of Malaysia at the Sepang International Circuit. This twisty, undulating 15-turn circuit is tricky and punishing to mistakes. A history across sim racing and motorsport in general shows this track as one of the most known in the world, even if it isn't the most popular. The wide circuit and bumpy surface should open the decade with a few mistakes and a thrilling race. The drivers will have to traverse this 5.543km circuit 56 times across the running of the opening round of the 2020 season, and of course it's a circuit known to many for its abrasive track surface, one that will be really pushing those tyres to the very limit. Plenty of overtaking opportunities around the circuit should you be... A new decade is upon us, a new era for sim racing as we move forward into the unknown. Sim racing's top elite prepare themselves for a grueling few months battling it out for one of sim racing's highest honours, joining a small group of sim racing's best, the likes of Huis, Marquez and Kolber. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Formula Sim Racing World Championship for our 20th season, brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap. This season will be fast and frantic, beginning in the heat of Malaysia before jetting around the globe, heading through 4 of the continents on our Earth, and finishing at the legendary Interlagos. In between that, heading to tracks like Silverstone, Imola, and the return of the infamous Monte Carlo after a 6-year absence. Oh, the times have changed in that 6 years. New drivers have come and gone, new champions crowned, latest of which is Jerne Simoncic returning to the season again after a dominant performance in 2019. Could he be joining a very small list of back-to-back champions? A feat not achieved since 2014 when Huis took his 5th consecutive championship victory. Focusing on the events for 2020, myself, McGlade, alongside me, Cameron Rodger, and 2019 was good, but the prospect of 2020 could be so much better.
Yes, I am really looking forward to it. We got a new car, we got awesome partnership with Studio 397 and rFactor 2. And it is going to be a really fun season over the next few months. We go to 10 of the best circuits in the world. And we're starting here in Malaysia. 5.5 kilometers, 56 laps for all these drivers to complete. And the car itself, 976 horsepower, 743 kilos with 2 boost modes for the drivers to use. And they'll be using it right now as we head into the qualifying session, the first one of 2020.
Yeah, he brought up the fact that obviously the qualifying format has changed this season. We were chatting about this prior to the event. Of course, last season it was a 15-minute session with 12 laps, as far as I remember. This year, though, it's a private session. We have 10 minutes, and we only have 9 laps that we can run. Of course, naturally, the way it is in how FSR works, obviously with these things, you only really do that 1 lap. So effectively, you only have 3 runs. You do your out lap, your time lap, and then your in lap, which obviously you don't necessarily have to complete. But the thing is, you only get 3 attempts, realistically, to get that lap absolutely spot on. And a track like this, it bites. It really bites, as you may or may not have found out earlier in the day. But it is certainly a tricky one.
Yeah, we're getting the first few laps in. Petr Berlak for Edge Esports is leading the way on a 27.2. Mojek on a 27.1, and now Simičić with a 26.7. And with the private session, the laps do come in thick and fast here. And one returning driver this year that I'm pretty happy to see is Jeroen Kwijkel in the HM Engineering red car. He is your 2016 Formula Sim Racing World Champion, and he actually won it at this very track all those years ago now. But he is back for HM, who are bringing a really big assault. They got many drivers in the Pro and Academy, and they got 2 teams here in the World Championship as well. So let's see what Jeroen does in his first qualifying lap back here. Where does he go? He goes to 4th position, so good start for him.
Yeah, of course, like you said, 2016 World Champion. It's nice to have one on the field. Of course, we lost 2. Courtesy of McGlade, D'Alessandro and Mohamed Patel not joining us for 2020. Nevertheless, it's nice to see some names come back in the departure of that. Of course, there are some new names on the field. Dennis Jordan for Evolution. Did do a race last season. Nevertheless, is here alongside Alex Siebel. Of course, those two work together in the Virtual Endurance Championship alongside our world champion Jere Simičić. Obviously, how things work out there. Obviously, teammates in some things. Here, definitely not the case. It brings an interesting dynamic for some of these teams. Burst 1-2 at the moment with Michi Hoyer in that second. Well, 1-2-3 with Michi Hoyer in that second position. A good lap to open the session for the German in P2.
Yeah, now looking at Janos Brakshock, because he actually won the winter series that we had back in January and February, down in 13th place at the moment, which is surprising considering he absolutely dominated that winter series that we had in the Tatus FT60 around those New Zealand tracks, and he's certainly one to look out for, I think, as the season goes on. Now, Luca D'Amelio has been promoted to the World Championship. He was in Pro last year in the new GoSpeed Singularity entry. Very exciting team that they have there, along with his teammate Jordi Zwares. As we're watching him come around the final sector now, this green livery is awesome. It stands out. One of Jordi's own making as he comes down the back straight now. I believe this is his second race in WC because he did a reserve last season. But apart from that, this is really his first time in the World Championship. But over the last year or so, he has become a really, really quick rFactor 2 driver, getting into many of the top competitions. And where can he put himself? 14th place at the moment, but there's still plenty of time left for these drivers to set their next laps.
Jordi, though, with 5 laps on the board, technically, he's only really going to have one run of maybe 1 or 2 laps. Bearing on the tyres, it's probably only going to be 1. Down in 14th, he said that he's aiming for some points today. I was having a little chat with him prior to the event. Of course, an excellent livery designer, as we can see on that Singularity GoSpeed. Done a very good job on that. Does the liveries for Singularity themselves and also Hyder Esports elsewhere in sim racing, and a very talented livery maker. Puts a lot of time and effort into it as a bit of a graphic designer. But yeah, definitely needs to improve on that time if he wants to confirm himself in the position of points. Jere Simičić 2/10 clear of now Dennis Jordan, who's got up into second position, the German, finishing his second run. Oh, Jere Simičić has just spun as well, coming out of T14.
And these spins are pretty important because you only have 3 hot laps, because in your 9 laps, that includes in and out laps. So it's really 3 hot laps. And one team that we actually haven't mentioned yet is Evolution Motorsports, making their debut in the World Championship with Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan, who are the reigning virtual endurance champions, along with Jere Simičić, who they had in their car. But it's good to see them here in FSR. And Siebel is in 6th, and his teammate Jordan is already up into 3rd position. And now Kwijkel, does Kwijkel improve? Is in 5th place. Don't think he actually managed to improve on that occasion. And another name to mention is Stephen Michaels, who is replacing. He's actually moved down to Pro, having driven for Flag to Flag last year in the World Championship. He's actually moved down to Pro with HM, but he's actually as a replacement at the moment in that car.
Yeah, Moz just improves to 11th position. Moves up, we've also got Tom Satherley, another driver, a new one on the grid, new-ish. Obviously, did a couple of races in the World Championship last year. I remember him qualifying in third position at the German Grand Prix. Did an incredible job there. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be in the race, but nevertheless has shown some incredible speed, and we hope to see more from that talent. Of course, driving for the primary Ghost Speed outfit. A few teams this season, one thing that I'm noticing, have got multiple outfits. Of course, we saw ACR and ACR Blue last season. We saw a few team ups up and down the order, but it was mainly between ACR and ACR Blue. The thing that I like, though, about having these, effectively most teams now have got 4 cars on the grid. It does lower the amount of effective teams that we have, but what it does mean is that a lot of these teams now have a couple of extra bullets in the gun rather, and so it kind of opens up the strategy. I think we could see some very incredible races between this lot, because between teammates you still don't pull your punches.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one, and the good thing to mention about ACR is ACR left, but then Burst have kind of taken their place as such with basically the same drivers that they had last year. So that is a bit of a weird setup. Although it is a new team with different management, it's the same drivers. So yeah, so we'll have to see what they do. And Michi Hoy is currently in second position.
Doing a great job.
I don't remember him being this high since maybe the beginning of 2018. So it's been a couple of years since we've seen Michi really up the fast end. And we now got 40 seconds left. So all these drivers are going to be coming to start their final laps. And someone who's already on their lap right now is Petter Burlak, going purple in that first sector with a 23.0.
Yeah, of course, Edge Esports, the only team outside of ACR to take a victory in 2019, currently running in 9th position and 16th position for Jim Parisis, the other Edge Esports driver. Important to note, Jim Parisis was a victor at this very circuit 5 years ago, back in 2015, so a long time ago. Petter Burlak, not a victor at this circuit at any point throughout his career. Nevertheless, currently running in 9th position, has finished on the podium a couple of times, as far as my stats would show. Currently looking fairly good. We'll see what his second sector is as he comes through it. What was it? Well, he lost a bit of time, but nothing too major. Your own Queequel purple in sector 1.
Both those at the same time. He's looking very good as well.
Oh, Tom Satherley, 4th. Great effort.
He actually was 4th in Hockenheim last year, where he managed to do the WC race there as well. So he's definitely got some good speed. Petter Burlak, where does he go? 5th position for the Croatia driver, and his teammate Jim Priest is also on a lap. Quite a few drivers coming to the end, so we'll try and grab as many of them as we can.
I think we need to eye on Queequel, currently in 7th position. Set that purple first sector, did a decent second sector. It could be a potential threat for the front row, potentially for a pole position. The ex-world champion comes out of the final corner and goes on to pole.
Nice lap. That is a really nice lap from the 2016 world champion. And there's a couple of people on personal best, but no one on a purple sector right now.
Simchic's looking good.
Yeah, Simchic 2 personal best as we speak, coming into the final corner. Let's see what he does. The number 17 reigning world champion for the Burst Rear Toro Esports car. Where does he go? He gets a pole position. Nice. Big gap as well. 1.6 tenths of a second. And I think last person to cross the line is going to be Jan Wozniacki in 4th. Jan,
what a lap.
Wow. Okay, your vice champion of the academy last season. He's moved up to pro, had a pretty good pace in the pro race earlier today. Unfortunately, he DNF'd, but he's showing his pace again in the World Championship. 4th place for the HM Engineering squad. He is for the white team, even though they're yellow, but we'll skip over that. But yeah, good one for him. Good debut for HM there, getting 2nd and 4th. But your pole position man for the first race of the 2020 season is Jernej Simencic.
Yeah, he took a few poles last season, but wasn't really the king of the pole position. Was more in control of the race. So we'll see how Edge play out there. Of course, playing back with Michi Hoyer, who he was teammates with earlier in the season, but then Michi Hoyer left ACR Blue at the time, rejoined with Burst, and this is a very complicated scenario, but they're technically back to being sort of teammates. All very confusing.
Yeah, and while the drivers sort themselves out in the warm-up, we will take a quick track guide from the one and only Michi Hoyer, who has put himself in 3rd position. So we will let him take you through that, and then we will be back to run you through the grid for today's opening race of the 2020 season. So I'll see you in a moment.
This is Formula Sim Racing and my name is Mitchy Hoyer. Welcome guys to the track presentation for the upcoming season opener this Sunday in the Formula Sim Racing Series 2020. We are sitting in the FSR car for the 2020 season here live in the Sepang International Circuit. Sitting in pit road right now, ready to hit the track in order to get you guys an idea of what the drivers are facing in terms of a challenge on this upcoming Sunday. So 2020 season is underway as we leave the pits out onto the track, immediately approaching the best overtaking spot here on the circuit, out of the DRS zone into turn 1, 180 degree right-hander, heavy braking zone there, going into second corner straight away, 180 degree left-hander, that is even more tight. First sector is nearly over here. Also good overtaking opportunity is this upcoming turn 4 as we go into the infield. In general, Malaysia is a track that requires a lot of aero performance, a lot of chassis and suspension performance here, a lot of fast direction changes, high speed chicane, that is basically a very technical corner here, turn 7-8, double apex right hander before we're coming to an uphill hairpin, heavy braking zone here. Car wants to spin out as the compression gets the front end to rotate around the corner pretty quickly. Turn 10, this uphill right-hander, all about traction there. Pretty difficult to have no wheel spin whatsoever. And then we face turn 11, and after this turn 12, turn 13 has been one of the most technical, difficult corners in the track, since the braking zone is in the corner already and the corner is closing down towards the apex as we propel our car through the corner onto the back straight, the second DRS zone, and right now I welcome you to a hot lap here around the Malaysian circuit. Coming around final turn, opening DRS, going across the line. As I said, best overtaking spot this turn 1, heavy braking zone into the first of 280 degree right-handers. Into turn 2 even, another gear down, hard on the accelerator, really need to get the power down. Through this turn 3, flat out, approaching turn 4 and into the second sector, another hard braking zone. Car wants to snap over this curb as there is another crest. Then flat out into turn 5, manage to speed, but you can nearly stay flat out through 5 and 6, high speed corner, a lot of aero. Also a lot of aero required in this double right-hander. Don't go too wide onto the outside. And here another time the heavy braking zone into turn 9. Rear end wants to come over that bump, over that crest. Turn 10, critical the traction here as we spoke about it already. Turn 11, really important to get the right entry speed. Also turn 12 and 13. Lay brake in, you wait, and then you go back onto the throttle. Open the DRS for the second time. Really important to get a perfect exit out of this penultimate corner, to line yourself up, position yourself into the final turn, have another great exit and open DRS for another time to then maybe launch an attack into turn 1 and across the line we go. That is one flying lap here on the Sepang International Circuit while the crew chief was still talking to me. Anyway, on this upcoming Sunday, we are enjoying the first season opener here on FSR, and races to be 1400, 1630 and 1900 GMT. Live on the Formula Sim Racing channel.
Sector 1 is 7.9 seconds, slower than your best.
So yeah, we are expecting a lot of fun, a lot of racing throughout the 2020 season, with a season opener right here at Sepang, 10 races and a lot of drivers taking the season underway. So make sure to join them on the stream, root for them, shout out for them, and prepare for heavy racing, prepare for a lot of different strategies, and enjoy the racing there.
Welcome to the Roy Designs track guide for the 2020 Formula Sim Racing World Championship. The first round of 10 comes from the hot and humid country of Malaysia at the Sepang International Circuit. This twisty, undulating 15-turn circuit is tricky and punishing to mistakes. A history across sim racing and motorsport in general shows this track as one of the most known in the world, even if it isn't the most popular. The wide circuit and bumpy surface should open the decade with a few mistakes and a thrilling race. The drivers will have to traverse this 5.543 kilometre circuit 56 times across the running of the opening round of the 2020 season, and of course it's a circuit known to many for its abrasive track surface, one that will be really pushing those tyres to the very limit. Plenty of overtaking opportunities around the circuit should you be coming to some tyre woes. Turn 1, Turn 4, plenty down the back end of the circuit as well. You can see the Turn 5 and Turn 6, that complex extremely hard on the front tyres, as is 7 and 8 just there, that double right-hander. Heavy braking zones into the hairpin of 9 and down towards Turn 14 and the final corner of 15 provide excellent overtaking opportunities for those brave enough to throw it down the inside. Of course, the pit lane exit on the right-hand side of that final corner could cause an incident there with the different approach speeds, but that there is a look around the Malaysia circuit, and we'll see how they go for this 56-lap race to open the decade.
Hello and welcome back to the first race of the Formula Sim Racing World Championship for 2020, brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap, and I'm your commentator Cameron Rodger, and as before joined here by Lewis McGlade.
Yeah, we had an exciting qualifying session to open the season. Of course, Jene Simicic, our champion, taking that pole position. We'll run you through the order as soon as we get that formation out, but there's a few things that I want to note as we move into that qualifying session. Jene Simicic did take 2 of the last 4 poles of the season last year. However, due to issues at Singapore and really sort of being outclassed a little bit by Gosby in the final races of the season, or maybe not pushing quite as hard as he needed to as well. There is that. He hasn't won since Italy. Of course, that race where himself, Gosby and Brackshaw all fought over victory in a tense final phases of the Grand Prix. Either way, we'll get this formation lap underway. 56 laps ahead of us, and that pole position goes the way of Burst Esports' Jene Simicic. We can take a look at the liveries as well as we head down the order. Jeroen Kweekel in second position, just ahead of Michi Hoyer and Jan Wozniacki. So it's 2 different variants of the HM Engineering teams, and then 2 different variants of the Burst Esports team as well. Evolution with Dennis Jordan take 5th position ahead of Ghost Speed's Tom Satherley. Petter Burlak in 7th position, David Morocek in 8th, then Alex Siebel in 9th. Sandar Kallis pole position last year back in China, if I remember correctly. It might have been Azerbaijan. It was Azerbaijan. Good one. Last season. That is an excellent livery, by the way, for NetRex. They've won here quite a few times, most notably once all the way back in 2003, courtesy of Gregor Hutu. Jim Parisis, P11, a man responsible for the closest finish around this circuit, 0.591 seconds between himself and his current teammate, Petter Burlak. That was back in 2015, his last victory at this venue. Luca D'Amelio in at 12th position, the first of the Singularity Ghost Speed's got a bit of work to do to move it up into the points. And then Robin Panzar, a man who was very impressive through various phases at the latter point of last year. Potential victory at the United States, battling with his teammate Martin Gosby. Shown some incredible speed across the season as the Swede. Stephen Michaels moving team to HM Engineering in 14th position. Tomasz Wok just put directly behind him. Danny Fantoni in 16th position, the other NetRex guy. Then Janis Brackshaw all the way down in 17th. That is not a good qualification session for him. Jordi Zvaers in 18th position, the other Singularity Go Speed. Aiming for a couple of points today if he can make his way up the order on the soft tyres at the moment. And then rounding out the grid is the livery. Of course, it's an interesting one for Jos Araneda and Chris Shepherd. Ground effect looking odd. Let's go with that. With that livery, I'm going to be a bit harsh on it and say I hope they stay at the back of the grid for that kind of, but we'll see. Either way, towards the front, between two world champions, Cam, is it going to come from one of those? Last time we raced here, it was second position that ended up in victory with Daniel Kish a couple of years ago.
It's really difficult to say because, for instance, Wozniak is in fourth, but you would assume he might kill his tyres because he's probably not used to this fuel level. You're Dennis Jordan there in fifth. He's always looking to do a crazy strategy. Alex Siebel down in ninth. Never know what he can do. He's a very quick driver himself, but then you can never count out Kweekel or Simoncic on the front row, both world champions in their own right.
Well, all pretty much lined up for the first round of the season. You've got Peter Burlak, by the way, in seventh position, massively out of line in his grid spot. We're about to get underway. Thank you to SimLab and 3D Wrap for bringing us this FSR season as we open the decade. Jone Simoncic in charge at the front, preparing for the final cars to get in position. I noticed David Mrocek is a little bit too far back in his box, and I wonder if that's not what's picking him up and why we haven't got those lights on. But here we are, about to go racing in this new decade. Jone Simoncic, your own Kweekel on the front row. Kweekel doesn't really get the best initial launch. I think the best of that comes from Michi Hoyer, who's going to jump up into second position. Jone Simoncic defending on the inside towards turn one as they go three wide. All the way around the outside goes Michi Hoyer, and potentially into the lead of the opening Grand Prix of the season on the inside of Jone Simicic's teammate. There's a little bit of a contact between the two, but Jone Simoncic gets the best drive off the corner and holds that lead just from the German of Michi Hoyer. Excellent launch. Your own Kweekel in third position as Jone Simoncic defends to the inside. Dennis Jordan's made a good jump up into fourth position, but Peter Burlak saying no thank you to that as Edge Esports mount their challenge on the top five. Currently in fifth position, Jan Wozniak drops back a couple of positions. Contact between himself and Peter Burlak going through 5 and 6. That's very close. My goodness me, that was a bit touch and go. Peter Burlak just hanging on to fifth position then. So we've got 3 world champions in the top 5 as Tom Sadley as well has made his way up into seventh position. Luca D'Amelio is within the top 10 as well, running in ninth position, defending from Sandar Callis, heading into the hairpin, maybe doing a little bit of an attack on David Mrocek as Alex Siebel and Sandar Callis make a little bit of contact for that 10th position. At the front of the field though, half a second clear now that he's got a little bit of breathing room, your world champion Jone Simoncic.
Yeah, that was actually a fairly clean start. We've got all 20 drivers still going. It looked pretty good. Michi Hoyer really tried to get the lead there, didn't he? Going around the outside of turn 1. But he is in second place, which is still a very good position to be in as we're only ending lap 1 at the moment. And Kweekel, dropping a space there, but third place is still not too bad. But it looks like everyone is going through here pretty nicely at the moment.
Yeah, of course, Jone Simoncic, who's learnt a lot about fuel management over 2019, has used that to great effect over in the Virtual Endurance Championship with his teammates. Dennis Jordan currently running in that fourth position, and Alex Siebel down 11th. They've worked tirelessly to learn fuel management, and that is what really aided him across an entire race distance. We saw it last season through this first stint. Outside of the first couple of laps, everything was really calm until that first pit stop, and then everything was basically thrown out the window and this became absolutely mad stuff. Whether that will happen today, of course, this is a very abrasive circuit, so a lot of drivers might try and take advantage whilst they can in the early phases of this race. Of course, a lot of drivers running on different compounds. The top 8, as far as I can see, running on the softs. Luca D'Amelio running on the medium, the white wall tyres, down in 9th position. Super softs for everyone else in the top 10. So interesting strategy choice there.
Yeah, and quite the rule is that the top 10 have to start in their qualifying tyre, which is obviously going to be the softs. But quite a few people outside the top 10 are actually on the softs as well. So we need to see what they're going to do on the strategy. In the pre-season, we did 2 pre-season races at this track, actually. And in the most recent one, Jone tried a one-stop strategy. So I do wonder if he's going to try that again, even though on that occasion it didn't quite work. But we'll have to see what they can do. The undercut is absolutely massive in this car, it has to be said though, so 2 stops will work as well. So I have to see what they can do, and Jone is not running away with it at the moment. Michi staying there in second place for now.
Yeah, you kind of feel that Jene Simičić might be controlling the pace. We saw this as Michi Hoyer has set the fastest lap of the race, a 33.304, just 500ths quicker than his teammate directly in front, and about the same kind of distance to your own Kweekel directly behind. The thing is we saw this so much from Simičić. My best memory of this was the Italian Grand Prix when they worked out that Janis Brakshock was changed at some point in his stint onto quite a risky one-stop strategy, and there was a point with 10 laps to go where you watched both those ACR cars go, he's not stopping, and they both then set fastest lap, and they just kept doing it, and they hammered down that gap, and then Jene Simičić won that Grand Prix. Of course, potentially that could be what happens today. Well, yeah, it's a long way to go. A one-stop is a little bit brave. Of course, we say this track is very abrasive. A lot of the corners do take quite a lot of lean angle as well, and really abuse that front left tyre. Some traction zones as well to just really work out the rear tyres as well. So it's not the most ideal track for tyre saving, but those that can do may benefit massively across the running of the day.
Yeah, tyres at this track do not go well together, it has to be said. It is one of the higher wearing tracks on the calendar, as you say. There's all those long, fast corners that you really have to look out for. But because the straights aren't really too long, I'm sure a lot of the drivers will have fairly high wings on. So that will help save the tyres a little bit as well. But it's always getting that balance of what you want. Whether you want to have a bit higher top speed and overtake, or if you want to have higher downforce, potentially save your tyres.
P9, Sander Callas goes around the outside of Luca D'Amelio at T1, of course, using the soft wall, red wall tyre to get past the hard white wall tyres. I think it's hard, isn't it? Is the whites?
Yes.
What would be classified as medium or whatever, which I'm definitely going to call it. Don't worry. Luca D'Amelio, they're getting past, as you kind of expect. Made a good start, made up a few positions, but still trying to make these tyres work for him. But I kind of don't feel that's the right option. I know, like, trying to go as far as possible when you consider how potent the undercut is going to be. Oh, it's a rough one.
It could work. It could work.
It could work.
The hards definitely just obviously they're definitely a bit slower, but they can probably go twice the distance of the softs if you really want them to. It just depends how that undercut works and how close he can stay with the top 10. But he is already into that top 10. With Siebel dropping out of it in P11 at the moment, so it's certainly looking quite good for him at the moment. But I just have to see how that works out for him.
Yeah, of course. Could be interesting. We're seeing a little close battle between the top two. Jene Simičić, Michi Hoyer as well. Maybe Michi Hoyer's not looking after his tyres. Of course, this is our first time.
Michi's going to go for it here. Michi is definitely going to go for it here. He's going to take the lead. So the second leader we have had this season. Michi Hoyer goes to the lead in the Burst Simplexity car. And I think this is the first time he's genuinely led a race for a couple of years now, because he didn't quite have the best season last year, has to be said. Did move teams a couple of times, but he's back here leading the way in the World Championship, and he's doing a good job.
Yes. I think Simičić is kind of letting him have it at the moment. Michi Hoyer yet to win a race in the World Championship. Has had a few podiums. Last one coming at the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix. Has had a few second places at Great Britain a couple of times and France. Second was probably at this rate go quite strong at Silverstone, because it seems like a fairly decent track for the German driver. Simičić, though, I think he'll be like, do you know what, I'm okay with this. I can sort of sit. I can look after my fuel. I can not push too hard. I can judge the gap to their other drivers. I don't think Simičić will be too concerned at the moment. Of course, it's our first time, though, this season that we actually get to take a look at some of these new liveries. Obviously, you can see the Burst one. It looks very, very nice. The HME car looks decent. Evolution, I think, looks great. We did have a conversation pre-race about the Edge Esports currently running in 5th position and 12th at the moment for Jim Parisi. He's made some decent progress as well. It's the gold on the car that's the big question mark on that. I think there's too much of it, and it's.
Fortunately, the livery doesn't affect the speed, because he's in fifth position at the moment, so he's doing pretty good. And I think Pete is always the person for the second half of the season. If you look at the last 2 years especially, when it gets to that second half of the season, he's the one who's still pushing to get those top results. So even though he's in 5th position at the moment, I wouldn't count him out of anything. although talking about counting out of people, there's a little gap forming behind David Mocek in 8th position. Sander Callis has dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's because when he was sat behind Luca D'Amelio on those hard tyres, just couldn't really get by, and it's built that gap. I still think with the fact that the top 8 will be controlling things, Sander Callis will close it up. On that point of Petter Burlak, I've got 2 points to make on this. Number one, you're absolutely right. He does come better at the end of the season. His earliest race victory in the season comes 4 rounds in, on his way to the World Championship in 2015. Outside of that, for the most part, he's only doing his winning in that second half of the season. Won for the first time back in 2013 at the Brazilian Grand Prix, courtesy of a disqualification that went the way, as far as I remember, as far as I can recall, went the way of Bonahuis and the Precision Boys due to various implications with some current ruling at that time. Has won the final race of the season 4 times.
A lot.
Yeah, he does very well towards the end of the season. Of course, second in the last race last season, won the Singapore Grand Prix a few rounds prior to that. My main point, though, the second point I was going to make is if he was to win the World Championship this year, that would be the biggest gap between 2 World Championships since Ryan Colbert in 2009. Obviously, he won... was it Ryan Colbert? No, hang on, which one was it? God, see, this is it. Do your research. It was 2009 because he won it in 2004 as well. Mm-hmm. So 5 years. It will be the joint biggest distance between 2 World Championships in FSR.
And the last... I unfortunately, I don't have the stat in front of me. Is it the last 5 or 6 years we've had a different driver every year winning the World Championship?
Yeah, 14 to 19.
Yes.
We had Huis in 14, then Burlak, Queekle, Patel, D'Alessandro, and then, of course, in 2019, Jerne Simicic, victor of the 2019 FSR World Championship.
And we have had a DNF. Jos Araneda, he was dropping off the back of the field I saw on the track map, and he is now DNF'd, unfortunately for him. I think they
Shepherd's off as well.
Yeah, they only signed up at about 9 p.m. last night. So it was a very late entry for the Ground Effect team. So I don't know how prepared exactly they were. Shepherd has dropped off a little bit from the back as well. But I'm sure as the season progresses, they will go on. Jos did get a P4 in Spa last year at the Belgian Grand Prix. So he definitely has the talent to be there. He just possibly needs to prepare a little bit longer for the next race.
We saw some good speed out of Jos Araneda at various points last season, but unfortunately, it was just piecing it together was the particularly difficult thing. I do distinctly remember that Belgian Grand Prix being a good one for him. By the way, at the top end of the field, there's absolutely nothing separating Michi Hoyer and Jerne Simicic, only half a second over the line that time by. 2 times over the running of the Malaysian Grand Prix, this race has come under a second. There was the one that I brought up earlier where Jim Paresis beat Petter Burlak in 2015, our smallest margin, 0.591 seconds. It happened a few years prior to that as well, when FSR legend Morgan Morand was beat by Mr. 5-time Bonahuis by 0.987 of a second. Oh, getting there in the end. That was back in 2012, so tight margins can be seen at this circuit, despite some people really not liking it. Last year, I think, when I was looking at the stats for it, the top 4 rather, were separated by 5.4 seconds the last time around, in 2017, not last year.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's quite close is because, especially with the finishing times, is because you've got basically the back straight before the final corner, which really helps the possibilities of making a move on the final lap. We saw that in the Academy race earlier on today, where Lappins almost had a move on Hemmingsson, but didn't quite work out. But it's certainly possible to make last lap moves at this track with that DRS zone just before the final corner. And just being on board there with Jerne Simicic, the actual visual graphic of his tyres isn't actually looking too bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these drivers go towards maybe 20 laps on these soft compound tyres.
Yeah, of course, if there's someone who can do it, is Jerne Simicic picking up a bit of the dirty air from Michi Hoyer's car, but I'm sure he's well versed doing so, as he had done previously last season, looking after his tyres. Doing a good job. I've noticed for P9 and P10, Sander Callis hasn't really been able to bridge the gap and close up to David Mocek, who is stuck behind Tom Satherley, 7th position. I think Satherley is starting to struggle on speed here because he's dropping off the back to the tune of about a second from the HME driver of Jan Vosnicker.
Yeah, the good thing about this car in some ways is that the slipstream is fairly powerful. So if you can sit behind someone, or if you can stay with them, I should say, you can actually stay with them. But if you just drop off a little bit and you lose that slipstream, it is quite difficult. So if he can stay on the back, and he's actually pushing quite hard there, I think he's trying to get back into the DRS detection of Jan Wozniacki, because if he can do that, then he can start to save his tyres a little bit and stay on the back of the train. Obviously, right now, first hit, no one's doing anything too crazy because they want to get deeper into the race before they start thinking about their positions and what they can do with strategy. But if Tom can actually stay there and get DRS, which he has on this lap, then that is going to be good for him.
Oh,
someone
Sander
spun.
Sander Callis, Netrex. Winner a couple of times out of the race.
DNF'd.
Netrex have won at this circuit a couple of times. That's what I was trying to say. Finish off that sentence.
Going to get a replay of this with Sander Callis coming out of the second to last corner. Yeah, just spun up the rears. Does he hit the wall? Yeah, he does hit the wall actually. And that is him out of the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, another retirement for Sander Callis. Did it a few times last season.
Yanni's got the lead back.
He did. I think he slipped through it by at T1.
Yeah, Yanni's got the lead back, and now Quico is on the back of Michi Hoyer. And I wonder is Yanni going to do a little push here? See if he can get away and maybe make a pit stop in the next 5 laps or so. Because he maybe was just saving a little bit behind Michi. Let's Michi do the hard work up the front.
He didn't look like he was pushing particularly hard through 5 and 6 there. Not exactly going cruising through there. Just trying to pull away a little bit in this middle sector. You're right, he might be trying to push at the moment, but maybe not. Of course, this the way it was in 2019 was it was a bit like a pressure cooker, and towards the where that first pit stop was made, that was where people started making a lot of progress and moving up the order and really pushing for it. Yanni Simičić looking to try and break away from the chasing pack directly behind. 8/10 separate himself and Michi Hoyer, but I think Hoyer, with the double DRS zone and the slipstream as well, is going to close right back up.
Yeah, it's very difficult to actually properly pull away on this track. You can get a little bit of a gap, but coming through the third sector, you do really have to be quite far away because you do have this double DRS zone, 2 straights back to back, which is always fairly helpful for keeping the cars close together. We now got Alex Siebel looking at the back of Luca Di Melio, and he's actually making that work. Di Melio has obviously lost that slipstream of Sander Callis, and Siebel was like, right, I don't want to lose the pack ahead of me, so he's going on those soft compound tyres, and he's actually the lowest driver on those soft compound tyres who started inside the top 10 still, although he's worked his way back up to 9th place, having dropped out of it for the last few laps.
Yeah, I think Siebel's got a bit of work there if he wants to catch the back of Rodger. Of course, sat behind the pack of Sander Callis, Luca Di Melio, battling with Jim Paresis as well. Unfortunately, needs to push a little bit harder. But then by doing that, I think the only way he's going to get back in that pack is a cheeky undercut.
Yeah, the undercut is, as I said earlier, it is very powerful. So if he uses it wisely, he can fill that space and catch up to Rodger, but he will then have older tyres. So that is the balance that you have to get of how early do you make your pit stop. Because you probably don't want to do a 3 stop in this race. It's probably between a 1 and a 2 stop. And we've now got David Mocek here on the back of the Ghost Speed, which is Tom Satherley, although he's barely got the top speed, and sadly he's actually very good on the brakes because he's going into the pit lane.
Oh, we overcooked it a little bit there. Did Satherley?
Yeah, first pitter from this top bunch into the pit lane. Let's see what tyres he goes on.
First pit stop of the season.
Yeah.
First pit stop of the decade. There we go.
Wow. Tom is going to love that when we tell him after the race. Let's see what he goes on to. I would assume the mediums. Oh, he goes on to the hards.
Hards.
Interesting. Okay, I would assume if you're 2-stopping, you do soft, medium, soft, but this is a little bit early, so maybe he's going to do soft, hard, soft. We will have to see how that works out for him. He's obviously now down at the back of the field in 18th position, but he's only 6 seconds behind Shepherd, who has not pit either yet. But Shepherd's actually making his debut, I believe, in Formula SimRacing. He did the Winter Series, but in terms of the main season, being reserved for I think Ben Hamlet's supposed to be in that car. So I don't know if Ben will actually show up. Maybe Chris will keep that seat, but Ben is not here today. So yeah, but Shepard's dropped off a little bit from the main pack.
Yeah, Shepard's close friends with last season's driver, Jeffrey Fournier. Very close friends. Those two have been teamed up for a very long time throughout their tenure when they were at Epic Racing and elsewhere. Get along very, very well. Not a direct replacement of him, of course, different team and all that, but it's nice to see Shepard. I'm sure he'll have a little bit of assistance from the young Frenchman, who I saw in the chat was not happy earlier because Peter Burlack stole his number. The number 97.
Well, that's what happens when you don't show up.
Exactly. You need to keep in the season, mate.
Yeah, if you don't come back, you lose your choice on numbers, unfortunately. So yeah, Petter in that number 97. He was, I believe, the number 30 last year, although the 30, I believe, has gone to someone else. So yeah, lots of number changes this year. But yeah, some drivers love having the same number.
Noticed how Michi Hoyer has dropped off the back of Jene Simoncic. Simoncic breaking away from his teammate who's coming under increasing pressure from your own Kweekel behind. Not too far behind that, Dennis Jordan, Peter Burlack, the top five. David Mrocek not quite able to keep pace with the Croatian driver as he's dropping further back into the clutches of Jan Vosnica behind. Oh, Dennis Jordan's disconnected.
Yeah, I saw him move out of the way. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to come back. Because
I don't think so.
Because
Maybe.
he's still there. He hasn't gone back to the garage. Normally.
No, there he goes.
Oh yeah, he's gone back to the garage now. Yeah, that means he has actually gone. That is a real shame because that was their debut. He was looking in a good place. And yeah, it's weird that it was just him.
Oh, PSU, apparently.
Ah.
Oh, Jan Vosnica's round. Jan, there we go. We were speaking about him in that sense prior to the broadcast. Don't rejoin now, mate. Ooh.
Okay,
don't Sebastian Vettel it, mate. Ooh,
close enough. I'm going to grab a replay of what Jan did. So let's jump on board, coming
Hoyer's
through
in pit lane, by the way.
Turn 13 into 14, and I've never seen that. He lost it on the entry, and fortunately got out of the way nicely. And yes, Hoyer, as you say, in the pit lane. So let's see what tyres he goes on to. Oh, he's already made stop softs again. Is that correct?
No,
is that what you see?
Come out on the hards. That's what I can see.
Okay, the graphic hasn't updated for me, but we'll wait and see. Oh, and he comes out just ahead of Chris Shepard, which is good for him because there is a gap just ahead of him that he can fill. So this undercut, we need to see if it works for Michi.
Vosnica also decided to bail from his soft tyres and jump onto the hards. This allowed Jene Simoncic to have a 1.5 second lead. Although what I will say is the pace that's currently being put in by Jeroen Kweekel took half a second out in that very first sector of the lap.
Yeah, he's the same distance now that Michi was a couple of laps ago. So Kweekel is obviously filling that gap that Michi has now vacated because he does not want to let Jene get away. And
a further 10th.
Yeah, Kweekel's done enough racing in his time to know the strategic options and what could happen. And we're getting towards lap 15, so I think lap 15 is where the pit window is going to start to sort of open. We've already seen Michi dive in there. Oh, Kweekel goes. He's reacting
he might have been.
to Michi, bringing it around nicely. Really awkward pit lane here. Oh, someone behind him. There's that Burlack and Mrocek and Siebel, I think I saw in the background. All coming in.
D'Amelio stays out. Parisa stays out. This may force Jene Simoncic's hand, though. To bring him in the pit lane if everyone else is. That's the joy of this, is you can't really run your own game. You've got to focus on what everyone else is doing. We'll see if he can put in some purple sectors to bring it into the pit lane. Your own Kweekel.
Mediums for Kweekel. And here's come Michi. Here comes Michi. Is that Robin?
No,
it is Michi. Yeah, it is Michi. So Kweekel has managed to make that work somehow. And get the overcut, I believe. Because Michi was definitely ahead of him, so that is Kweekel up into a net second place. So let's see what Jene is going to do. Normally, when this happens, he absolutely leathers it for a lap and then comes into the pit lane. Yeah, he's got a bit of visible wear now coming on those tyres.
Oh, he lit it up coming out of 10 there.
Maybe this is one lap too far. We'll have to see. Because
sectors aren't looking so great. It was a 24.5 in the first sector, which was 0.3 off of what he did last lap, so
Yeah.
it's looking like he's probably pushed it a little bit too far. He was currently on the previous lap a whopping 6/10 slower in that middle sector than the car behind Luca D'Amelio. So I think it is
Quico's going
one
to get
lap
held up.
too far for Simčić.
Quico's going to get held up though. There's a car ahead of him, who is that Jordi Suarez. So he's going to get DRS though. If he can overtake him on this straight, this could be very, very helpful for Jeroen. And this could be potentially going for the lead because he's on those medium tyres, fresh, and he's going to dive here onto the final corner, isn't he? And he will get DRS as well because of where the detection point is. So this could be...
I think he's getting the lead. I think he is getting the lead. Just exiting that final corner. Simčić has left his box, coming towards the end of pit lane. We've got Jeroen Quico coming. This is it. This is the lead. Jeroen Quico is going to take what could be the net lead of the Malaysian Grand Prix
as well.
to Open 2020.
Can Michi get it around the outside? He's going to have to dive it down into turn 2.
Held back from his teammate there.
And they're stuck behind Suarez. So Quico has turned a 1 second deficit into a 1 second lead at this moment in time, and Jeroen is going to have to dive it down the inside here to make sure Quico does not get away in sector 2. And Hoyer is going to come back around the outside. I think Jordi just let him go there. No point fighting that. That is not his fight to get involved in.
Know how Simčić is on the harder compound tyre to Jeroen Quico's mediums on the yellow, coming up towards the back of Janis Brakshock. Now top 5 yet to stop. Luca D'Amelio, Jim Paresis currently leading the way by only 0.6 of a second between the pair. Yet to stop in this Malaysian Grand Prix. Stephen Michaels, Robin Panzar and Janis Brakshock, that top 5 yet to stop. That battle that we're expecting to come between Jeroen Quico and Jone Simčić, 2 previous champions in the FSR World Championship. As well. Petter Burlak's now just behind Jordi and will try and clear him ASAP to get onto the back, although he just made a mistake through 13 to the 2015 World Champion. Of course, there's an important thing to know about Jeroen Quico. When he won that World Championship, people thinking, oh, well, he's not been in here for a while. You know, maybe it's thrown him off as Jeroen Quico gets by Janis Brakshock. Jeroen Quico won the World Championship in his very first full-time season in 2016.
Yeah, that was a really, really good season as well. I think he missed 4 races out of the 16, something like that, and he still won the World Championship. He was very, very good that season, has to be said. And
do you want to know the man he beat to the World Championship?
Paresis?
Jone Simčić.
Yeah, Paresis was close, but then I think he... Because, that was the first season that Simčić won his first race, because in 2015, Simčić was in Go Speed, and then Quico did a reserve race in Suzuka that will be coming later to Matsusaka, and Quico actually won the race as a reserve ahead of Simčić in 2015, and then 2016 moved to OFR and won the championship with a really, really nicely put together season. But he is now leading Simčić by 1 second. But there is a few cars, including Robin Panzar, Simčić's teammate, to get through. And Burlak has got past someone, I think.
He's got past Mrocek. Yeah, I think he's passed
now
someone on the pit stop, but it's Dennis, I think.
Oh, it's Dennis, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I was trying to work that out earlier. I was like, hang on, how's he in fault? Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Dennis. I'm actually a little bit sad because I really like him. He's a really good guy, and it's great to see them that they come to FSR. Really top level drivers, him and Alex Siebel in the Evolution Motorsports car, and now Michi Hoy has just got past Brakshock as well, but Michi has dropped a whole 2.5 seconds off Simčić. So I do wonder if we are now looking at a potential 2-horse race for the victory here today in Malaysia.
Yeah, unless someone throws some strategy stuff in the works, that's the only thing that's really going to spice it up. The beautiful sun out here in Malaysia, making things pretty toasty. Of course, Jeroen Quico in that 5th position. I think you're right. With Michi Hoyer dropping off the back of this, Janis Brakshock's about to be overtaken by Petter Burlak up towards T4. Pretty much almost a nothing move in the sense that Janis Brakshock is on a different strategy at the moment. Yet to stop Petter Burlak, David Mrocek have. Tom Satherley's not really kept up to the back of Mrocek either, noting that I think Brakshock might try and sort of hold in front of David Mrocek at the present moment in time, allowing his teammate Tom Satherley to close back up.
Yeah, Ghost Speed are arguably disappointing. I mean, they were really the ones to challenge ACR last season, and ACR is basically effectively renamed to Burst. They haven't. but that's kind of how it's worked with the driver swaps and stuff like that as well. But Ghost Speed are now not there. It seems that HM Engineering are potentially the ones to battle the Burst esports cars. So yeah, we'll have to see how they do. They didn't do so good in the lower categories either.
Panzer getting passed by your own Queekle, 4th position. I think Panzer will dive out of the way of teammate Jane Simoncic as David Mrocek also passes Brackshock. I think you're absolutely right there. HME seems like the right team. Look at the battle for the lead though. Jim Parisis, now for Edge Esports, takes the lead from Luca D'Amelio. Prior to those two making a pit stop. Reminder that Jim Parisis has been victorious at the circuit back in 2015, driving for Twister. Beat his teammate on that day, Peter Burlak, who is his teammate on this day as well, conveniently enough. But Jim Parisis up into the lead. I still think between the teams of Burst and between the teams of HME, the other one is Edge. I think they're the ones that can get involved. Of course, Ghost Speed, Singularity seem to be fairly strong at the moment, but I don't think they're the...
not Priestess, sorry, but Burlak, he's always strong, so we can never count him out. Priestess hasn't been in the World Championship since 2018, I believe he did 2018 with who was it, Manusakis in the Edge car, and just at the front, Queekle has now got past his teammate Stephen Michaels as well. I think Steve's actually struggling a bit here with the tyres, so the two Burst cars of Panzer and Simoncic are going to come through as well. But yeah, I think Priest is coming back to FSR after a season out. We'll have to see how he sort of copes as such. I know he's obviously a top quality driver, but open wheels are obviously a completely different game. And yes, there goes Simoncic past his teammate of Robin Panzer.
Sorry.
Yeah, you thought Queekle was pitting.
Yeah, I did.
I thought.
By the way,
I thought that for a second as well.
Because there was a gap between the Simoncic and Michaels one. This is the reason. I've just been told by Felix van Delft that Simoncic nearly spun behind the back of Robin Panzer, which explains why there's now 2.4 seconds between your own Queekle and Yannis Simoncic. You're actually quite right, by the way. What has been a year since we've seen Jim Parisis on the grid, taken 4 victories in the Formula SimRacing World Championship, last of which came in 2016 at Spa.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
2060 Spa, yeah, that was a wet race as well. I remember that. That was a year that Jim was just like madly quick in the wet. He won in, I believe it was Australia as well, was a wet race. Yeah, he was madly quick in the wet that season, and it's great to see him back leading the race. Obviously, he still needs to make a pit stop, so I have to see how it all works out, but still great to see a name like him come back, because he's been doing some other events with Edge over the past couple of years, winning some nice money elsewhere as well. So he's obviously keeping up to scratch with the ability.
Mitchie Hoyer now on the back of sister teammate Robin Panzer, 5th and 6th position. Peter Burlak closing into the back of this, as is Mitchie Hoyer's direct teammate David Mrocek, who I will say has done a good job to drag himself back into contention on the rear of Burlak's vehicle. Mitchie Hoyer's going to easily slipstream his way by with a little bit of DRS up into the final corner. And Panzer's going to dive it down pit lane, not cost any time to Peter Burlak.
And just a quick mention on Robin Panzer. He was actually the one who orchestrated the physics for this year. It's a new physics set. If you'd like to check it out, go onto the forums, which are linked in the description, and then you will be able to find the downloads in the resource section. And Robin was the one to make that, and I think Chris Shepherd.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah, let's just get a replay to see what happened to him. This is, I believe that is turn 10. He is going through into turn 11, hits the curb. Oh yeah, just overcorrected it. Goes into the wall and loses his rear wing along with other body parts.
Yeah, 19 laps into the decade, and both of their cars are currently out for ground effect after a mishmash of 2019. Unfortunately, the new decade not starting out in the best form. We'll see how their season unfolds.
Yeah, they are very committed, has to be said, but we'll just have to see how their results go. What have you seen?
Wozniacka is lagging, is the lightest way of putting it. I wonder if that's a computer issue. He's in the wall, out of the race.
Yes, he had a massive issue in the pro race earlier, a couple of hours ago. He was, I believe, second or quite high up anyway, and had a issue there. So yeah, let's just go on board. Yeah, he's lost a wheel. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely out of this race, which is unfortunate for him because being a reserve in WC, this is his first time in the World Championship. But he won't be getting any sort of result here today.
No, I think there was a big old technical issue involved in that one as well that has dropped the fourth place qualifier out of the race. It's kind of one of those things that happens every now and then, so there's not really much you can do about it. Currently still 0.5 of a second, by the way, separating your two leaders at the moment, 21 laps into the opening Grand Prix of the season. Half a second between Jim Paresis and Luca D'Amelio, 5.4 seconds off of the lead. Comes Jeroen Kweekel, who's pulling away from Jerne Simoncic. Also, obviously a cheeky stat that I love to throw out every now and then about victors of championships in the first round, as you do. Important to note that only 2 times in the last 6 years has the winner of the first round gone on to become the world champion. One of them was Jerne Simoncic last year, won the opening race of the season. Didn't really look back from that point, held the championship lead all the way up until the final race of the season. The other one was Mohammed Patel back in 2017. Outside of that, every time that victor of the inaugural race of the season doesn't go on to win the world championship. So maybe there's a bit of a bad omen on that one.
Well,
Jeroen Kweekel was one of those who didn't win the opening round of the season and went on to win the world championship.
It's difficult. I mean, for instance, this year we have 10 races, so each race is way more valuable for these drivers. They need to make sure they're getting the points, especially earlier on in the season. And if you, for instance, miss a race or you DNF, that is really going to make you struggle. And we've now got Petter Burlak on the back of Michi Hoyer. I think Michi's dropping off a bit from Simoncic as well. So this could be Burlak getting onto the net podium of the race in a couple of laps time anyway. But yeah, it seems like Michi's dropping off just a tiny bit.
He seems to struggle on speed at the moment. What was his previous lap time? Was a 33.1 for Michi Hoyer. It was a 32.7 for Jerne Simoncic ahead, so dropping a further 0.4 back. First sector was about a 10th off as well. Teammate, a couple of that cars behind, David Marocek, has set the fastest lap of the race at this present moment in time, of 32.046. Obviously that will change in the latter part of the race. Burlak, though, moving on to the podium. It'd be another podium for Petter Burlak, which I think was the position, was it third place that he finished in when he went on to win the World Championship in 2015? I think it may well have been.
Unfortunately, I do not remember that far back in terms of specific results. But yeah, he's certainly always at the front.
It was indeed third position in 2015, finished obviously at the Australian Grand Prix rather than the Malaysian Grand Prix, where Australia has done most of the openings of the FSR World Championship, of course. Now we're an official rFactor 2 Championship. We run on the official circuits. Luca D'Amelio into the pit lane. That season, he finished every race that he finished. Petter Burlak was on the podium.
And he's going
to go around the outside of Michi Hoyer.
He's
not really got the grip.
Yeah, not far enough, but he's thinking about it anyway. He's thinking about it, and he's setting it up. He's seeing where Michi's quick and where he is not.
I'm still going to bring it up again. The gold on on Michi's car looks a bit better than the cheeky Type 7 Code Brown that we've got on the Edge Esports car. I'm sure Andreas will fix it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe he will as the season progresses. Next race in 3 weeks' time, we go to the San Marino Grand Prix, which I believe is the first time since 2014 that we've been at that track. Obviously, this is the new. It's about 6 months old now, but it's from the Razorpack DLC that you can find on the Steam Workshop. That is a very nice track mod indeed that we'll be going to in about 3 weeks' time for the second race of the season.
Something that really must be noted is how condensed this calendar is. It is only 10 rounds, mind, but normally we end the season sort of September, October, November, that kind of time. This year we're ending in August, and early August at that. It is a condensed calendar for the 2020 season, and one that really is going to, if you make a mistake in a race, you are going to pay for it. Jim Paresis enters the pit lane for Edge and releases Jeroen Kweekel to lead by 2.7 seconds over Jerne Simoncic. Is there any control heading in that camp, or is Jeroen Kweekel in control of this race? Petter Burlak once again closes up to the back of the German of Michi Hoyer. This battle for that final podium position, Tom Satherley dragging his way back into this as well for Go Speed. What a fantastic job he's doing, currently running in 6th position, the Englishman, after qualifying quite nicely indeed.
Did you just say that?
What did I say?
Englishman.
Oh, yeah, it's all the same, innit?
No, he's New Zealand, as you can.
It's all the same, innit?
As you can see on the helmet by
Shush.
his little graphic. I'm sure when he listens to this back after the race, he would love
won't.
you, Lewis.
Sorry, Yuri Kastorp's Brazilian. Sorry, we'll just throw someone else under the bus. That was James Kirk's line. Off we go. Cool. Move on.
Yes, the Kiwi in 6th position.
Englishman, it's fine.
Yeah, he is waking up early on a Monday morning for him. I believe it is 8:45 in the morning his time in New Zealand. So he's getting a late start to work today, but that is the commitment that he gives to race it, which is very nice to see indeed, despite being on the other side of the world.
Nah, it's in England, mate. It's fine. There's a few experiences of that in sim racing. I've seen it in the other simulator, where Jarl Tyen wakes up at 2, earlier because the race starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. Wakes up obviously about 1:30 in the morning to take part in a NASCAR race. I ain't got time for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously drivers, we are an international league. We get drivers from pretty much every of the major countries in the world, which is really good to see. People from the east and the west, and also obviously like European countries as well. So it's good to see loads of these different nationalities coming across. But obviously, sadly,
a little bit of
of
contact, I think, between P8, P9, Luca D'Amelio and Alex Sieb. I think it was a little touch at T1 between the two of them.
Yeah, so Luca's actually managed to get back past, hasn't he? Because we saw Siebel overtake earlier when they were on the soft and the hards, and now they're on the medium and the hard tyres, respectively.
Well, whilst these two battle, Jim Paris is going to be closing in. By the way, he's moved up into the top 10 through that pit stop sequence after doing a bit of leading earlier. Same with Luca D'Amelio. Comfortably within the top 10, you'd have to say as well. Now on those fresh tyres, going to try and clear up to the top pack. Noting that Tom Satherley, he's just made a bit of a mistake. He was closing up quite a bit there. Was nearly within that slipstream DRS range of the back of David Rodger.
He's getting there. He is getting there. We're getting to that sort of midpoint of the race now, where drivers will be starting to think, what do they want to do for the final pit stop? Do they want to push it a bit longer, go to the softs? Do they want to pit early, get an undercut, but then they might have to go to the mediums? That's what they will next be thinking about. But some of these drivers have the fortunate position to be a couple of seconds away from each other. So have a quick recap at the top. Simoncic is now about 3 seconds off the lead of Jeroen Kweekel, who is doing a really good job here for the HM Engineering Red team. And then Michi Hoyer has dropped off to 3.5 seconds now, but he is closely followed by Petter Burlak and David Rodger. But Burlak cannot find a position to get through yet, but he's certainly looking. And maybe he's looking for an undercut at the next round of pit stops. And looking to the lower end of the top 10, we end with Satherley, Wack, D'Amelio, Precis, and Alex Siebel.
Siebel last bullet in the gun, courtesy of for Evolution, courtesy of that power supply failure for Dennis Jordan out of the race early in his FSR World Championship full-time career. Evolution have been a strong team in open wheelers over the previous run that they've had. Obviously not so much in FSR, obviously a debut team in this season, but they're a strong team, it must be said. Currently being passed by Luca D'Amelio and Jim Paris after that pit stop. Those two firing in the faster laps of this Grand Prix thus far. A 31.6 for D'Amelio and a 31.7 for Jim Paris.
And I wonder what's going to happen now with Rodger and Burlak, because they've sat here behind Michi for quite a while now. And I'm going to go on board with Rodger. I'm trying to see if he's trying to overtake or if he just can't overtake just yet.
Not getting close enough.
Yeah, he's not getting. Well, yeah, it's because he's behind someone who's also got slipstream and DRS, so that makes it even more difficult. But Michi's doing a pretty good job here, I have to say. considering it's been a while since he's been at the front here in FSR, especially 2017 when it was him and Martin Stefanko in the ACR team. And I believe it was actually this race as well. They both had a very good race here in Malaysia in that season. So it's been a little while, obviously 2018, when ACR had that partnership with Zack Speed as well. They had a very good season, but it was D'Alessandro who came out on top on that occasion as well.
Yeah, I think, Mitchie's last podium in the World Championship came in 2018 at Spa. So it's been a fair while between drinks for Michie Hoyer. Had quite a few points finishes last season. Started out the season in decent form with a 6th place in Australia and a 7th place in China. After that, kind of struggled a little bit. Jumped between the teams of ACR and Ground Effect throughout the season. Put some decent results for Ground Effect, but nothing of much significance. Currently running in 3rd position on his return to the top flight team in the World Championship. 2.2 seconds, by the way, between Jene Simicic, who is now closing up. Of course, the difference between your own Quico and Jene Simicic
Petter
at the moment
Burlak now
is
going to the outside, and Michie Hoy has finally got a run. He's got his nose ahead. Can he actually finally make this work? He's going to have to dive it down the inside of turn 2, which is then going to be the outside for turn 3. So Michie has defended that pretty well, but Petter is right there. If he uses a bit of his boost now, he might be able to get alongside coming down towards turn 4, but Michie defends hard to the inside. So Burlak has broken earlier, to try and get the cutback, but the outside of turn 5 and 6 here is really, really difficult. But he's holding it. Look at that. He's managed to keep it, and he's managed to make that work. Good job to Petter there for holding it around the outside. He probably would have used a little bit of his tyres there to get past, but he's managed to finally make it. And now, can David Mojek do a double overtake, or is he going to sit behind his teammate? He might just sit there for now, but that is Burlak onto the podium as we speak.
Mitchie's straight line speed, though, out of the second to last and final corner looked pretty handy, and that was what was holding him onto that 3rd position for as long as he was over Petter Burlak. But we'll see if he can keep close enough. I think Burlak's been like, right, okay, I'm going to leave it in this mix mode. I'm going to try and pull away just for a little bit. My point before that race was going on was that Jene Simicic is on the hard tyre, your own Quico on the medium, so that's why that gap is coming down as it is, because obviously Jene Simicic has got plenty more tyre left within that car.
Yeah, Simicic pit on a similar lap in the test race where he did 1 stop, but it didn't quite work. But considering the pace, I do want to wonder what he's doing. But he's catching up to Quico now, actually.
Very quickly as well.
He is catching up to Quico. So I wonder if Quico is now going to go to a set of the hard tyres to the end of the race, which could be pivotal. That is assuming his tyres are going off at the moment. But I'll have to see. But if he goes to the hards and Simicic can stay out and go to the softs, that's going to be a huge pace difference towards the end of this race that Simicic is going to have. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it looks like he's still got a bit of a front end, so maybe it's just Simicic pushing a little bit extra. We'll have to see. Last lap, he was 0.6 of a second quicker, but then Jene was the quickest out of everyone in the top 6 by quite some way. So I think it's actually just Jene speeding up.
Yeah, Jene's just putting the pressure on at the moment. His lap time in comparison to his fastest lap of his race, that fastest lap for Jene Simicic being a 32.061. Fastest lap difference compared to last lap was only 0.4 for Jene Simicic. For your own Quico, it was 0.8, so double the margin to that fastest lap. Seems that your own Quico might be struggling a little bit on tyres. And as Jene Simicic gets closer and closer, that ability to keep up and get closer and actually get by is going to get easier and easier, because obviously you get into that slipstream, you get that DRS. It's just going to make things that little bit easier. 1.1 seconds. Your own Quico is definitely pushing as well, by the way. He set a personal best in that final sector. Not good enough, as Jene Simicic set one that was 0.3 quicker. The pair behind as well, Petter Burlak, setting the fastest lap of the top 3 at 32.1.
Mojek's had an off-track somewhere. He's taken to the pit lane, but I just noticed he's had an off-track, so I'm going to jump on board with him and see what happens. He's behind Michie Hoyer here, coming through the second sector. Oh yeah, he spun. He's had a massive spin coming out of turn 6. And has he... Yeah, he's just going through the grass. And this was about half a lap ago now. He is currently in the pit lane. He's dropped all the way down to what is currently 13th position, but he has made a pit stop.
Yeah, well, that could be a costly mistake for Rochek's Grand Prix. We'll see how it unfolds for him. 9/10 of a second separating Petter Burlak, though, as I said, was the fastest guy in the previous lap, was the fastest guy in this lap. In the first sector, took half a second out of the top two. And more importantly, and this is a good thing for Michi Hoyer fans, is dragging Michi Hoyer with him.
Yes, Michi slowed down a little bit, and which is why Burlak sat there for ages as they were just losing time to SimRacing. But maybe now in the slipstream, as I said earlier on, if you could stay in that slipstream, it is possible to keep up with someone and sort of follow their pace a little bit. So I have to see if Burlak can actually make it. But it's less than a second now between SimRacing and Kweekel. Kweekel is under threat here as SimRacing is on in the DRS zone.
Sadly in the pit lane for Go Speed on those hard tyres. First stop of the season and the decade going to him. Now going to make a second one and see where he comes out. It's not the first one to make a second stop, so we can't have that honour, unfortunately. Brings it in. What tyres? I assume it's going to be hard to get. It is indeed.
Yeah, that really surprises me. Double hards, but maybe they are just struggling with the wear a little bit here today.
Seems to be working.
Well, you can obviously push a little bit more on the hards, that is for sure. But overall, the pace might be a tiny bit slower. But we'll have to see what Jene Simicic does. We've got 24 laps left in this race. So it's really at a weird phase in this race where if you pit now or if you wait to pit or whatever, the strategy is completely open. So I have to see what they do. But Jene has definitely managed to catch up here to Kweekel. So I do wonder if Kweekel's time leading this race is limited.
Well, we'll see, because Simicic might hang on here, but he's got the approaching pressure of Petter Burlak and Michi Hoyer, who both on the previous lap set a personal best lap of the race, and continuing that fashion on this race, I think Michi Hoyer is going to set a time on this lap that's not going to be far off the fastest lap of the race, even on these worn tyres. Comes across the line. It's 0.2 of a second as Jene Simicic is going to be attacking for the lead. Oh, he has to go to the outside. Almost had to get on the brakes a bit there. And that's what closed the DRS for Jene Simicic. Not going to be able to hang on. Michi Hoyer did set a 32.142. A reference to the race leader. 32.142 for Michi Hoyer. A 33.714 for Jeroen Kweekel. His tyres are done.
But this puts him in a tricky position because even if he pits now, 23 or 22 at the end of this one, it's going to be like not the easiest to keep that speed up all the way, considering I assume Jene is potentially going to go maybe even another 10 laps or so. So it's going to be a bit difficult for him if he pits now to take the victory here today. But oh god, look how close Burlak and Hoyer are now. You can see him right in the background of each of the TV camera shots now. So they are coming and they are really closing up to Kweekel. So I wonder if Kweekel is going to pit this lap. Although he will, he possibly can take the mediums, but it'll be easier probably to take the hard tyres, so he can just push towards the end of the race.
Oh, here we go. Is Kweekel going to come into the pit lane? As two definitely are becoming four. Could potentially six with Dumelio and Paresis not too far behind. Simicic doesn't fancy trying to make a move here. Kweekel is definitely going to hang on for another lap out in the lead of this race. Burlak catching, Hoyer catching even that, and D'Amelio and Paresis not too far behind, running very different strategies. Simicic is going to go to the inside, going to hang it all the way over to the pit wall with the inside not fought too hard by Jeroen Kweekel. Simicic is going to retake the lead, but look at that, trying to hang around the outside. It's going to give him the inside of turn two as Simicic is trying to push him over. There's going to be a touch between the two, but Simicic is going to retake the lead of the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Yeah, awesome move there. Kweekel gave it a really good fight. He was almost there, but it was just a little bit too tight into turn number 2. But let's see what Burlak can do now, because Burlak has been catching at quite a rate of knots, and I do wonder, should Kweekel have pit on that lap? Because if he starts getting overtaken by Burlak and Hoyer over potentially even at the end of this lap, he's just going to lose even more time.
I think if Jeroen Kweekel wants to stay in contention for this victory, he needed to either pit on the last lap or pit on this one, take hards and go to the end. That's really his only option at the moment, and that's the problem with pushing as hard as he did earlier. Has really closed the door to some strategies. Petter Burlak I think now is going to have a bit of a hard time to get by your own Queekle. And the thing is Jene Simoncic right now has just set his personal best second sector, thus proving his strength of mind and will and control to not push too hard, catching up to your own Queekle. Burlak's coming. Is Queekle going to go down pit lane, though? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Committed to pit lane. That was way too quick to the final corner. Whoa, Mitchy Hoyer as well. That was very close to the back of Petter Burlak. Mitchy Hoyer making a step to come in the pit lane. He's going to go on hards to the end for Mitchy.
This has got to be hards. Surely it's got to be hards. The mediums will do it, but I don't think they'll do it at the speed that they need. So let's see what they do. Hoyer's the first one to take his tyres. Yep, hards for him. Queekle going up, and it's stayed yellow for me.
He stayed yellow for me. That's a brave call.
Yeah, that's the mediums. So
how long does his mediums go on the last lap? From 15 to 34, which is 19 laps. 22 to go. It's tight.
And there's less fuel now. But I just, because considering how his tyres they actually died about 5 laps ago, let's be honest. His pace started dropping for a little while. I do wonder how that's going to work, but he's going to now have the undercut, so this is going to put Jene in a position. What does he want to do? Does he want to cover that? Does he want to stay out, get the softs later on? We will need to wait and see on that.
I'm wondering if Petter Burlak is going to come in this lap, currently setting a time with a personal best first sector, a decent second sector as well, closing into the back of Jene Simoncic bit by bit. I know Simoncic did just set a very fast second sector as well, which is actually a bit quicker than I thought it was, never mind. But I wonder if Petter Burlak is eyeing up the pit lane, maybe not this time, but I bet pretty soon, to cover off that strategy call between your own Queekle and Mitchy Hoyer. It is not this lap. They are going to stay out for another one at least.
Yeah, I think he's just pushing to keep up with Jene, because Jene's got that 2-second lead now. Petter does not want Jene to get away. And it's just that game of cat and mouse. If you push a little bit, I'll push a little bit. If you save, I'll save. They just want to make sure that they are doing the same as whatever their competitors are doing at this moment in time. We've now got in third and fourth. We got Paresis on the back of D'Amelio. Again, obviously, these guys are on that alternate strategy. I doubt they're doing a one-stop, so they're probably not going to end up in this position, but it is still looking pretty good for them indeed.
Well, considering the rate that we're closing in, imagine if your own Queekle gets out in front and then holds Jene Simoncic. If he does that for an extra couple of laps, I reckon those three could be involved. Or those two, rather, could catch their way back up.
I tell you what, Queekle's got a massive gap in front of him here. If he puts in some good laps, he can do what he did last time. It just depends. Can he keep these tyres to the end of the race at a good pace? He needs to do, what did we say, another 3 laps, and his tyres already died with about 3 laps to go in the previous stint. So he basically needs 6 laps extra out of the tyres to keep the good pace. So, yeah, it might be a little bit difficult, but he's a world champion. He knows what he's doing. So I have to see how that works out for him.
Well, of course, here in the World Championship, most teams have race engineers. Your own Queekle is definitely one with one. And I think he's just being informed what the sector times are that Jene Simoncic is doing, and maybe bit by bit take it out rather than pushing and taking out anything on the tyres. Because on this lap, they are almost identical. It was only a 10th difference between the two. Of course, Jene Simoncic on much worn tyres. Your own Queekle on some brand new softs, but I think maybe he's just looking after them and thinking, oh, well, if I can try and just stretch this stint out a little bit further, that could grant me chance of a potential victory this afternoon.
Yeah, he needs to basically just keep the average pace across the stint quicker, rather than going really fast now, burning his tyres and being really slow at the end. He needs to keep that average pace a lot more consistent than it was in that middle stint.
Indeed. And that's one of the hardest bits, because you know that, like, he is driving that car at the moment, probably a second, maybe 2 seconds. Not 2 seconds, that's ridiculous. But a second, maybe a second and a half slower than what that car's potential is. But that's how you run a race. You know, if you want to win, you need to look after your tyres. Current fastest lap of the race is 31.1. His lap on the previous one was a 32.1.
And I just saw your man, the Englishman Thomas Sadley, going around Robin Panzar there for 10th position, so he's back into the points on that double hard strategy. Oh, Robin's gone a little bit wide as well, so that might let his sister teammate Mojek catch up? Oh, it's a shame that Mojek's all the way down there in 12th place because he really was looking quite good. But that is unfortunately what happens when you make some mistakes. And Berlek has stayed out again. So I think these guys are going to go to the softs at the end. I think that's what they're staying out for, which means Queekle really needs to keep his tyres alive.
Third place, Jim Paris is going to go down the inside of Luca D'Amelio and take what is currently third position. At the moment, these two running around on the yellow-walled medium tyres. At the moment, as Jim Paris now takes third position and puts two Edge Esports cars on the podium, very much with a question mark on how the strategy is going to play out for Paris and D'Amelio. 2 seconds separating your leaders at the moment with only 20 laps to go here in this opening Grand Prix of the season.
And Hoyer is right on the back of Queekle. Despite being on the harder tyre, he is not letting Queekle get away at all.
Previous lap, Mitchie Hoyer was 6/10 quicker and set purple final sector.
It's very interesting that Hoyer's done double hard and Queekle has done double soft, but they're literally in the same part of the track. So that is quite interesting to show that there isn't a huge discrepancy in the tyres, at least on the long run. But the initial outlap and undercut potential is obviously even greater on the softer compound of tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonder how much control, wonder what the thought power is in that Burst Esports camp of Jene Simoncic and even that one of Petar Berlak. Question coming in from Felix. Could he be going to the end?
Who's Simoncic?
Yeah.
As I said, he tried it in the test race, but the tyres changed a little bit since then. So I don't know if he's found something different. If you remember, as I'm just watching Mojek here come past Brakshock, and I remember China last year, Jene did a crazy 40-something lap stint on the hard tyres that day and made a one-stop strategy work. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I think his pace is very quick if that is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's too quick if that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and Brakshock now is getting overtaken here by another of the Burst Esports cars, and Panzer goes down the inside. So go speed, and at least from Brakshock's side, really, really struggling. And I wonder if maybe he put too much effort into the Winter Series when the others were testing the beta mod. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out after the race. But yeah, Brakshock was generally in the top 5 or 6 last year. Definitely in the points. But now he's struggling to get 1 point here today.
Yeah, contended for potential victories a few times last season. I remember him, he was very, very strong at Singapore, fell foul to some tyre woes there. Did some great stuff on tyres at Italy. Of course, we know how that race ended. So let's not go into that. The thing is, though, he's a very talented young man. Last season, though, it must be said, he did not start the season in good form. It was a retirement, a 14th, a retirement, and a 13th, then a 7th, then another retirement. After that point, though, he really figured out how to sort of get these cars through the race. Petar Berlak into the pit lane.
Okay, I think he's going to go on the softs here. 16 laps to go. I think he is going to go on the soft tyres. It is a tiny bit of a gamble. But let's see what he does. Oh, he's gone for the mediums. I was more hoping. I didn't know.
Wimp. Queekle was gonna take over, as is Mitchie Hoyer. But he's not that far behind, indeed.
Yeah. So Queekle's got, I'm trying to remember now, was that 4 laps? 4 laps fresher tyres? And he's right behind them. So I think Berlak is going to be very good. But that tells us that Simoncic is going to be undercut as well. He's going to be roughly where Mitchie Hoyer is on the track. So let's see what he does.
He'd still be ahead because there was 2 seconds. He'd be ahead by a whopping 3/10.
Yeah, they'd be side by side probably as by the time that they get to about turn 2. But is Simoncic going to keep out? If you look on the track map, Jene is in the bottom left corner. He's got the purple ring around it, coming round the penultimate corner now. And these guys are only starting sector 3. So I do wonder if maybe they will, Jene will think about it, but I do think his pace is a little bit too quick.
He's coming in. Here he comes. No one stop for Jene Simoncic. Heard that, pushing a little bit too hard into that final corner. Comes straight into pit lane and comes to his pit box. And this is going to be mediums again?
Yeah.
Is he going to risk it on the softs?
Yeah, mediums is definitely the safe option because you know you'll definitely get to. Oh, you only missed it.
Misses box.
He's good.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
He's
that's,
not going to be
Queequel's-
out in the lead for that. But yeah, mediums as well. So yeah, that is definitely the safer option. Let's say they've gone past, so he's got absolutely no
Burlack's
chance.
gone
So
past as well.
Queequel retakes the net lead of the race. Only Priest still out, but obviously we know he is on the alternate strategy. So we now got a four-way fight. Look at this, four-way fight, 15 laps. Let's see who's going to get the first race win of 2020.
Yeah, and Jene Simoncic through that error, I think as well through the top 3 settings and pretty handy lap times. Simoncic actually dropped from first to fourth through that sequence. Michi Hoyer's gained a couple of positions and up into second, although him being on the hard compound tyre maybe puts a question mark over his longevity within this race.
Burlack purple sector 1, obviously in the DRS of Hoyer, but still looking very good. And Simoncic is right on the back of them. Yeah, this is going to be a great fight towards the end of this race. One slightly different strategies. Hoyer. Oh, Burlack spun!
Burlack!
Oh no! He's lost the rear and he's turned it around pretty good, but he's going to lose a few seconds. And we got a ghost speed coming through. We got another, the burst. I think that's Panzer. Oh, sorry, Mochek, coming through. So that is Burlack done. And that is such a shame. In terms of winning the race, that is definitely his race done. But he might still be able to get back to a more comfortable 4th place, which Tom sadly is sitting in at this moment in time.
I think now through that one thing, no disrespect to Michi Hoyer, because I think Jene Simoncic will get by it and will get on the back of your own Queequel. I don't think he's on the right tyres at this point. But obviously we can wait and see towards that latter part of the race. Michi is what a feisty driver. That Burlack, though, by the way, just to point out what happened, there is a bump on that corner that is an absolute nightmare, and he just caught it at the wrong point, completely flat. I've had it in a lower category car. Through there at this very circuit. It is a very frustrating bump. Unfortunately, Burlack paying the price. We saw similar things from him at Spa last year, I think it was.
He span with 2 cars at Les Combes, yes. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head now. I think it was Costa and
I think it was Ricardo Costa.
And someone else.
And
but he still
third.
got 2nd or 3rd that day, yeah. So he definitely is the man for comebacks, and Petar is always very good on his tyres, but he is going to be, it's about 9 seconds off Simoncic, which is probably a little bit too far, considering Simoncic is pushing to get a race victory.
Oh, you never know. What if these three will come together?
Well, yeah, exactly. You'd like to think that Hoyer and Simoncic wouldn't, because they are sister teammates. So I'm sure they have at least some sort of communication to each other. But you never know with Queequel. He has since he won the title in 2016. He only did one race, which was Melbourne 2018. So he hasn't been here for quite a while. But he is back here leading the way, and I have to say, it's certainly good seeing him up there. And it's also good seeing Michi up there, but can Simoncic overcome them? Queequel's not getting away, so he's going to have to defend this for the next 13 and a bit laps.
I think at the moment, if I were to be a betting man, my person for race victory between those three would be Jene Simoncic, although my person would finish second out of the three is Michi Hoyer. Because I think Queequel, based on that stint that he did earlier, he is going to struggle on these tyres. He's looking more in control of it, mind. But when you consider Jene Simoncic's tyres are quite a few laps fresher.
Yeah, Queequel's saving grace for his podium is that sadly is 6 seconds off at the moment in 4th place. That is really his saving grace for a podium, I think, in terms of the long run, because we do predict that Queequel's tyres will go off a little bit too soon. And someone in the comments, I think it was Jeffrey Fournier, has just mentioned Paresis, 7th place, soft compound tyres.
Yep.
Maybe he is the one to potentially not get on the podium, but at least challenge, sadly, for 4th position. We will have to see. Those soft compound tyres are very good.
He's only 9.4 seconds off the back of that podium, currently on the back of his teammate who is slipstreaming up to David Rodger.
Hoyer's just very close to Queequel. He's using a bit of boost here. Yeah, he's going to go. Queequel's going to defend on the inside, but we saw earlier he was very good on the brakes. Almost a tiny bit of contact.
There was. There was a tiny bit. Michi Hoyer going around the outside, but I don't think he's going to quite hang on. He's going to look down the inside. Jerome Queekle is going to get a good run off the corner, though, and it's going to be just a hold. Michi Hoyer was trying to hold Jerome Queekle to the inside. He's going to have a look at T4 here, maybe down the inside. That's a bit of a tight angle for the right-hander. Whilst this is going on, Jone Simicic is eyeing him up, thinking, oh, do I try? Do I not? No, not quite yet.
Yeah, he just went a little bit wide there, probably to get out the dirty air a little bit because he is very, very close. Although the dirty air isn't too bad, but obviously when you're right behind someone, that is when it really hits. And yeah, I think Simicic is just going to let Michi have a go. Because if Michi can get past, because I'm sure they're on a similar setup regarding wing levels and top speed. So I think if Michi can get past, Simicic will know that he can as well. And there's still plenty of time for him to take this nice and calmly. And talking about that third place battle, sadly, is really under threat now. He's got 1 second to Burlak, who is overtaken Rodger. And Rodger is now being hassled by Paresis just behind him as well. So the two edge cars might be able to get 4th and 5th here as we get towards the closing stages of this Malaysian Grand Prix.
Well, consider the pace from Peter Burlak and from Jim Paresis. They're catching that top trio at a rapid rate of knots as well. They're going to get past Tom Savley. I don't think it's going to be on this lap. It might be from Peter Burlak going from 4th position. I think Jim Paresis is definitely getting by David Marocek.
He's definitely got
a great drive.
Oh, he's going to have to go right to the wall.
Yeah, no, he's fine though. He's got it, and that'll be an easy one. Devin Marocek. Oh, it's going to be an easy one.
Good on the brakes.
Devin Marocek says, no, thank you very much. I'll break a bit later than you. Peter Burlak still stuck behind Tom Savley, but I think might try and make a move up at T4. Presently, Jim Paresis might also do the same thing. Kind of slipstream. Or nearly on the grass. They're both down the inside, and they're both going to pull the same move. But Devin Marocek, once again, very good on the brakes as Peter Burlak gets up in the 4th position. Marocek's brakes are very much his saviour for that position, but Burlak is pushing extraordinarily hard.
Well, he knows that he's got less than 6 seconds, 5.5 seconds. In fact, it's going down even quicker on the timer there, on the tower. So I think he is really going to be pushing to get back up. But yeah, shame for Tom Sadley. But he was the first one to make a pit stop, and he will start to struggle with his tyres. And I just noticed that Simicic is 2/10 behind Michi Hoyer as we come onto this back straight for the DRS zone.
I still think the pair of those burst guys are more conserving tyres. And maybe I think Michi's just trying... I know he looks like he is fighting very hard, and he is fighting very hard, to be fair. At the same time, you can fight very hard whilst looking after your tyres. There is an art form to it. Jone Simicic mastered it in 2019 on his way to the World Championship. Michi Hoyer will once again slipstream up to the back of Jerome Queekle. He's going to pick inside. He's going to go towards the inside. Oh, he's going to be tight. He's very tight. And that's going to mean his corner is going to just drift him straight far out wide. Jerome Queekle now on the inside for turn 2. But I think this time it goes to Michi Hoyer. And with 10 laps to go, Michi Hoyer hits the front.
That is awesome to see. Once again, though, Queekle defended far, far too late. That is how Simicic got past him earlier on in the race as well. Defended far too late. Hoyer managed to get his car there. Now Simicic is going to go down the inside of turn 5. That is going to be...
There's going to be contact.
That's going to be really, really, really tight as we come around turn 6 now. And he's made it work. So Queekle to the back end of the podium. And I do wonder if he has anything to fight for, because Burlak is now only 4 and a bit seconds behind.
Simicic already looking down the inside.
Queekle goes for it.
Hoyer. Yeah, that was a late lunge for Jerome Queekle.
Oh my God!
Grab that position, pushed Jone Simicic onto the curb as well.
That was so late from Queekle, but he made it work. To be fair, it was very tight, but wow, that was unbelievably late from Queekle. He is not giving up on this race victory. Fair play to him. But all this battling means that Burlak is now 2.5 seconds behind. Burlak might still have an opportunity for a podium.
Paresis is still catching the leaders, by the way, just not quite at the rate that he wants. Still stuck behind David Marocek, who's picking up slipstream and DRS from Tom Savley. I think this time, though, he may be... I'm going to really commit to this, because I think he's getting a bit peeved. Sat behind the back of Marocek, and this time he has got a good run out of the final corner as towards the top. Jerome Queekle defending down the inside as Jone Simicic is now doing the same thing that his teammate did. There's going to be contact between the two, and Jone Simicic goes round.
Oh, he managed to save it. You think he's going to keep 3rd place, but Burlak is coming. He managed to save that pretty well, I have to say. It got very tight there on the apex of turn number 1. And now Burlak is right behind him. This could be a very good opportunity for Burlak, despite having that spin a few laps ago.
It is robust defensive action from Jeroen Kweekel to try and hang on to a potential chance of victory this afternoon. Suddenly, the tables have turned, and maybe, just maybe, that heads to Michi Hoyer and his potential first victory in the FSR World Championship to open the decade. How would that be? Oh, it's an interesting one. He's got a lot to hang on for over these next 10 laps.
Yes.
Simoncic and Petter Berlak directly behind us. Jim Paresis has passed David Morocek and now on the back of Tom Saverly.
Yeah, we really need to see now, can Kweekel catch up 1.5 seconds? But he's on those medium tyres, pitting the same lap as Michi Hoyer, so you'd expect his tyres are going to go off, and we are predicting that is what's going to happen. But this top battle, even down to D'Amelio in P8, is all bunching up now, and Paresis is going to try and go round the outside of Tom Sadley into the final corner. He's actually going to make this work, I think, if he has left the room, which he can't quite do, but he's going to have DRS again coming down this start-finish straight. Sadley defends, manages to get himself to the inside, and just ahead of him, Berlak is actually going side by side with Simoncic, so going to cut to him as they come around turn 1. He's going to have the inside. No, he's not quite going to have the inside for turn number 1, so we'll just see, did his teammate get past? Yes, he did, so Paresis is up into 5th place on that alternate strategy, and those soft tyres are working really, really well at the moment, and we only have 8 laps left of this race.
Just remember, 2 times in the last 8 years, this race has come down to 1 second between the top 2. It very much looks like it could go that way this year as well. This Grand Prix this season looking like it's going to open in fantastic fashion. We saw plenty of excellent Grand Prix last season, ending with a manic rush over that final stint of the race, and this Grand Prix looks absolutely no different. One of the top 5 is definitely up for victory today. Michi Hoyer in the best spot at the moment, currently leading. Jeroen Kweekel not too far behind, a bit of a question mark over his tyres. Jane Simoncic, obviously with that contact between Jeroen Kweekel and himself, a half spin, but managed to get back on it. Definitely a lot of pace in his hand, looking after his tyres over the first phases of this stint. Petter Berlak with that spin. Maybe his tyres got a little worn through that, although it's not showing that through the pace he's setting. Of course, dropped off the back of Jane Simoncic here, but I don't think that's too big a deal. And then, of course, the man who's been on his new tyres for the least amount of time and has picked the softest tyres after starting well outside the top 10, Jim Paresis, victor at this Grand Prix 5 years ago, maybe setting his sights on the best way to start the decade.
Yeah, Paresis is just one of those guys, you just can't count him out. He's been around for so many years at the top level. He knows what he's doing, along with his world champion teammate Petter Berlak as well. That is a really, really good lineup for Edgy Sports, and I do hope they keep pushing throughout this season, because this is going to be potentially a Constructors' Championship that they could get. Because if you look at the standings, Hoyer and Simoncic, despite both being burst, they are in opposite teams of the burst outfit. The burst Simplexity team for Simoncic and the burst Riotaro team for Hoyer. So in terms of the Constructors' Championship, Edge are looking very good here.
Yeah, I think Andreas Waters has put on a very good outfit. Of course, I think Laurent Kiersmakers is the one who's running the scenes over here in FSR for that team. Of course, Andreas' outfit pushing very, very hard here in the World Championship. They were definitely the second team behind ACR last season, and ACR Blue, I'm just putting them into one big thing, don't worry. This season, it could be their year. They've not started this race in the best position, as Jane Simoncic is catching up to Jeroen Kweekel once again. They've not started this race from those best positions. However, no matter what, that team has dragged themselves back into contention. I think Jim Paresis may pass his Croatian teammate here, and I don't think Petter Berlak would put much of a fight on it.
Yeah, Petter's a smart boy. Petter's a smart boy. He knows what to do. He's going to say, Jim, you go on. You go and try and get onto the podium. Because Edgy Sports, despite having had fairly good drivers, they actually haven't had too many podiums and wins, despite being here the last couple of years. They've been there, but they haven't sort of got the top results at every single race. So it'd be good to see them get a podium to start off this season, because as we said, we're pretty sure Kweekel's tyres are going to die, but we're not quite sure. We have to see what happens. He's holding on for now, but Simoncic is getting very close, and now Paresis is only 1.5 seconds behind on those soft tyres, as we've said. And if he can keep pushing those to the end of the race, he's definitely going to catch up.
God, how would it be? I don't know how. Obviously, this is the thing with Michi Hoyer, is he streams his races. They're going to be pretty sweaty at the moment over on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Of course, don't look away. We've got to focus on the broadcast.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to go back and watch it. 'Cause, right, okay, this is probably one of the best things from preseason. Preseason, and Matsusaka, he won the race. There was 2 splits, but he won the race that had all the top guys in it. And he, on his live stream, like, he cheered because he was so happy that he finally managed to prove that he could race at the top and beat these guys. And I do hope that he gets a good result here today, because he's really tried over the last few months to get down to be one of the top drivers. And it looks like Simoncic is going to... Oh, yeah, see, this time Quickle finally managed to get his car to the inside. And we know he's pretty good on the brakes. Yeah, look at that. He's dived it down. These two had contact last time they were in this corner. But Simoncic is going to hold the outside. Quickle now on the outside himself through turn 2. And his car's still there. Oh, he's hit the curb, though. Lost the momentum.
Absolutely threw it through turn 2 then. Your own Quickle would definitely have a dive up at T4. Whoa. That was a bit of a weavy defense from Jerne Simoncic, who's now going to have the outside of turn 5 as Simoncic is going to hang him to the inside and try to do what Petter Burlak did earlier in the race, and it is going to work. Turn 5 and 6 goes the way of Jerne Simoncic, and second position becomes his. Finally gets by, but just remember, into the hairpin, your own Quickle was definitely not close enough now. Was where he threw it down the inside from 90 kilometers back.
Yeah, and that hard battle has meant he's lost about a second to Precis. So Precis might be within DRS as we come towards the end of this lap 51 of 56. So Precis is really got a good opportunity here to get on the podium.
5 laps to go in the opening Grand Prix of the season.
And
Michi Hoyer's sights
catching.
Suddenly turn
Simoncic
to
is
his
have
world
DRS.
champion teammate, Jerne Simoncic, the man who won the opening race 12 months ago in Australia. He has got a tough ask to win this race. How easy, how fair is Jerne Simoncic going to be? The thing that we know with Simoncic is he will fight his teammates, as Luca D'Amelio has been off the road and drops a position to Tom Satherley. Jim Paresis, like you were saying, has gone down the inside of your own Quickle and up onto the podium.
Yeah, Quickle didn't defend. I think he knows that is done regarding the podiums, because Precis is going to chase off after Jerne Simoncic. Do not count Precis out of this. Do not count Precis out of this. He is catching very, very quickly indeed. And yeah, the top 5 have dropped off Mojek and sadly, and as you say, D'Amelio as well. But there's still a few more laps for these guys to sort out their positions, and it's great that we still don't know who is going to win this race, the opening one of the season.
Just a reminder, Jim Paresis, currently running in 3rd position, started this race from 16th.
Yeah, he is an old wise fox, as they say, and he knows exactly what he's doing. His strategy has been perfect, but can he catch up to Simoncic before Simoncic overtakes Hoyer? Because I do think that Simoncic has the potential to do that. It would just be sort of a matter of when he's going to make an opportunity stick, because Michi's been pretty good at defending today. As we come to finish lap 52, Simoncic is lining him up. This could be a move for the lead of the race. And remember, Hoyer has not won a race in the World Championship.
Indeed. The underdog story very much on Jerne Simoncic, looking to the outside, thinking, oh, maybe not this lap. If I was Michi Hoyer, though, right, I don't know how other people feel about this, but if I'm racing with Jerne Simoncic, yes, of course I want to battle with him until the last lap. But I'm like, if you're going to overtake me at any point, please don't do it on the last lap, because that is too close to victory to have it taken away from you at that point. But Jerne Simoncic knows that he needs to get by pretty sharpish, as Luca D'Amelio has been around again. I think that could be the Singularity Go Speed, dropping maybe out of the points, currently down in 10th position. We'll keep our eye on that.
He had a contact with. He's had contact with Thomas Vack. I saw them both pretty much stopped at the first corner, but they are still just about in the point. Stephen Michaels in 11th place, 5 seconds behind, and Alex Siebel on Evolution Motorsports debut. He's had a quiet race, but he's there in 8th position at the moment. And Luca is off again and has DNF'd.
Brake failure.
Really?
Is what happened. Yeah, it's what it's come up with. Brake failure for Luca D'Amelio.
We have not seen a brake failure for many, many seasons, but that is something that was introduced into the mod this year, that it can happen, because it hasn't happened for so long. It was something that was mentioned and added. So
here we go for the lead.
Good to see.
I think Jene Simoncic is closing up once again. And I think he might have a look at T1. He is getting very, very close. And as I say, he needs to get this move done before Jim Paresis is in full view. Michi Hoyer is not really going to defend it. And I unfortunately think for you Michi Hoyer fans that's that one done at the moment.
But Hoyer just needs to sit behind him and get... We've got 3 laps to go, including this one. He just needs to sit behind him and get that DRS towards the end of the lap. We've seen how powerful it is if you use it correctly.
If he can out-duel Jene Simoncic for a victory here, that would be mightily impressive.
The scenes, because Jene he's just on form this last year in open wheel. I mean, he's always been good, let's be honest, but he's just been at some awesome level the last couple of years, and it's great to see that Michi is rising to the occasion. And just noticed that Petter hasn't quite got close enough to Quickle yet.
I think Paresis as well might have pushed his tyres a little bit too hard catching the top lot, of course, on those soft tyres, or maybe he's realised that he can look after them and maybe make a bit of a bigger push come the final points of this race. Still 1.5 seconds off of the race lead. If this comes between a second for your race victor and second position, as it has done twice in the previous runnings of the Malaysian Grand Prix, I think it might have to be Jim Paresis, the driver that comes home in that second position. We'll have to wait and see. Michi Hoyer in the DRS in the slipstream, catching up once again, but obviously not close enough to his Slovenian teammate.
I'll tell you what, I'm not counting out Paresis. Look how close he is here. I'm not counting him out at all as we come on to the penultimate lap of the race, lap 55. 2 more laps to go for these drivers to sort out their final positions.
Previous lap, Jim Paresis was the quickest of the top 3, but only by 1/10 of a second over Jene Simoncic.
Yeah, the softs will die quicker as well when they get to that point. So if he gets to that, if he does get to that point, then it might be quite difficult. Now Burlak is going to try and overtake Quickle, but Quickle's defending pretty well today all throughout, and Petter is going to try and get a move in turn 5. No, he's actually backs out of that as they go into turn 6. So maybe that won't be 4th place for Petter after all, but still P5 is a good place to finish on the first race of the season.
Yeah, he'll try and get by your own Quickle and move it up into a top 4 and have 2 Edge Esports cars in the top 4. It'll definitely look good for their team's championship. 1.1 seconds now. Jim Paresis off the race victory as he's closing up on Michi Hoyer, who is doing a good job.
He's closer.
Keeping up to the back of his teammate.
He's closer to Simoncic, and Simoncic is closer to Hoyer at the moment. Although he's actually made a bit of a mistake there in the final corner, lost some time. But we're coming on to the final lap of this opening race of the 2020 season, and we still don't know who's going to get the victory. There's 3 possible contenders, and who is going to take victory here in Malaysia.
Remember, the closest winning margin in the history of the Malaysian Grand Prix, 0.591 seconds. If it happened, it did on that lap. Oh, Jim Paresis is looking closer. Ooh,
he made Simoncic think about it. He made Simoncic think about it. Simoncic has got a difficult task here: attack or be overtaken. To be honest, is what the situation is.
It was 0.575 on the previous lap. Oh, Paresis is overheating.
He can't use a quali boost. He probably used a bit too much there, and his engine is right on the limit. He needs to not use that quali boost unless he wants to only care about the win. If he cares about the Constructors' Championship, he needs to keep that in Mix 1 and shift nice and early to make sure he finishes this final race.
Whilst this is going on, by the way, Stephen Michaels has passed 9th position on Thomas Wack, his teammate, so that's an interesting change further down the order. A nice good point finish for Stephen Michaels, of course, flag-to-flag driver last season, had a couple of points over the season. A really good German Grand Prix for him through all the retirements. 1 sector to go here, and not very much separating them. I unfortunately think Michi Hoyer is just not close enough. I think Jim Paresis' engine has gone. Edge Esports off the podium with 1 car, back on the podium with Petter Burlak, who did get by your own Quickle, but Jim Paresis out of it.
He's going for it.
Hoyer's going for the lead. He's going to go to the outside of the final corner. I think Jene Simoncic is not going to fight, but he's gone down the inside again. They're both side by side, and Michi Hoyer, he's going to have the best run off the corner. There's a bit of contact between the two, but Michi Hoyer's going to do it. His first victory in the World Championship. Well done.
What
Wow.
a what a move that was by Mitch Hoyer. He saved all his boost and all his fuel for that final straight, with Petter Burlak getting third, Queekle in fourth, Mojek fifth. Sadly, he's going to come home in sixth. Siebel in seventh. Michaels is going to get an eighth position at the end of this. He was down in 12th at one point. Good job for him at the end. Brackshock in a slightly disappointing ninth place if he can defend from Vac, which he can. So Vac is going to get the final point. But what a final lap that was by Mitchy Hoyer. He looked like he was out of it, but he saved all that boost for the final straight. And what a race from him. He was quick all of today. He was at the front the whole time. Very, very good job by him.
I think that is potentially the closest finish we've ever had in the World Championship. I'm remembering back to Japan last year where 3 of them were separated by 0.081 of a second. That race won by Martin Gosby, a teammate of Jane Simoncic at the time, beating Jane Simoncic, of course. This time, though, Mitchy Hoyer winning the race by 0.064 of a second.
Wow.
And taking top honours in the opening round of the decade. And not only that, his first ever race win. Congratulations, Mitchy Hoyer, Jane Simoncic. If there was a man he had to outduel for that victory, of course it had to be Jane Simoncic.
Yeah, that was really good by Mitchy. I'm very proud of him to do that, because he really didn't have a 2019 season at all. Like he was in ACRC, he was in a good team, he had a good setup, so he was kind of there. But like as a driver, he certainly wasn't performing potentially as well as he could have. But we're going to actually jump, because we got Jane Simoncic already. So let's talk to the 2019 world champion and how he just lost out on the victory. Hello, Jane.
Hello.
So that was a very good race from you, has to be said. Unfortunately, you just lost out there at the end. Did you not have enough boost to defend from Mitchy?
Yeah, it was boost and tires. It seemed like the optimal strategy was in the end to go double hard, but when I saw Queekle going double medium, I saw that he would have no chance in the end. So instead of Queekle, I had to cover for Burljak, because Michi was always there to attack, but of course you don't cover for a teammate, you cover for opponent. And yeah, in the end it would have worked out. There were some little incidents with Jeroen, and Michi capitalized on that. And yeah, in the last lap I ran out of tires.
Well, that is certainly a shame, but you did a very good job, and we'll just bring in your fellow podium finishers. But let's get now a word with Mitchy Hoyer, your first victory in the Formula SimRacing World Championship. How does that feel?
It is overwhelming. To be honest, I'm shaking. I think it's also the most ever closest finish I ever had in my career. And literally, I thought I'd go and be off the pack, like in the middle of the race. I didn't feel confident at all. And then on the final lap, I saw Paris's engine starting to smoke, and I saw Jane probably struggling with the tires, and I was like, yeah, you're not going to get a better chance. And it's unbelievable. Couldn't come in a better time at all.
Well, that was a brilliant overtake. It has to be said. And you were there the whole race, though. Like it wasn't any sort of fluke. You were literally there the whole race. So hopefully that is a good sign of what we're going to see this year between you drivers. And so just want to ask you, how did you feel the strategy work? Because you did soft, hard, whereas some drivers around you used the medium. So was that just because you were burning through your tires, or did you think that was the best strategy overall?
I was knew that it was a good strategy, but in the middle of the race, I felt like on that hard tire that I had more wear compared to all others. So I expected everyone to be around me with mediums. And to be honest, I benefited a bit from sitting in the slipstream of Jeroen Queekle in the beginning of the second stint. That made me not lose connection to the entire pack. And then, despite going on hards again, the undercut on Simoncic and I think Briag, that worked quite well. So I came out of them ahead. then made a move on Quickle, and yeah, was pretty lucky with things went. And I let Yene through. Like, I knew he was still having good ties with 3 laps to go, and defending really didn't make any point of that situation, since Parisis was pushing hard with the softs from behind. So I was like, yeah, you better not lose some time, slip in second, and take it home. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm delighted with how things went. If someone would have told me mid-race that you're going to win it, I would have said no fucking way. Excuse the language there, but I didn't feel comfortable at all on that hard tie in the first stint, but the second stint somehow was better.
Well, yeah, I mean, Quickle was there fighting with you all the way, but unfortunately he sort of dropped off a bit. But someone who managed to get past him was Petter Burlak. So Petter, how was that race for you? Unfortunately, you had the little spin which took you out of contention for the race win, but still a podium's a good way to start the season.
A bit more than a little spin.
Well, yes, you did lose quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it was the anti-stall made it even harder, since it's this year I lost extra 3 seconds before I reminded myself I had to press the clutch again. But anyway, quali wasn't so good. I think I messed up all my laps, but after Dennis disconnected, I kind of had a chance to keep with the leading pack, and I managed to do it quite well. I was surprised that Jeroen and Michi pitted so early. I thought they were going to go to the mediums at the end, but which was my idea. And then yeah, after coming out behind them, I don't know how I lost it. I had fresh tires, and there was just that bump. I guess dirty air combo. I wasn't even paying attention. I was like, oh, I'm spinning. Yeah, and well, good recovery in the end, I guess. But I feel sorry for Jim, because he should have been second, third at least.
And so, do you think there's going to be a big fight between you and Burst, or do you think maybe HM Engineering Quickle are going to be your competitors this season?
Well, the first race might be a bit skewed in that way, because people did probably a lot of laps. So I'm not exactly sure yet, but it looks like they're there. Yeah.
All right. Well,
along with Burst and us, yes.
yeah. Well, congratulations anyway for your first podium. Yeah, a bit of a shame about Jim that you couldn't get at least a double points scoring finish, but you still have 9 more races left to get the points on the table for the Constructors' Championship. And our next race, the San Marino Grand Prix Round 2, is on the 29th of March. And we'll be there in 3 weeks' time for the Academy Pro, and then finishing with the World Championship as we did here today. But from here in Malaysia, I think that is about time to wrap up proceedings today. So we thank you for watching, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the highlights package that will come out in due course as well. But until then, we will see you soon. Goodbye.